Good afternoon. I hope you're all well. This afternoon we have just stunning autumn weather here in Switzerland. I hope you're enjoying this change of season as much as I am at the moment. Okay, just a few thoughts about the last week. First of all, we asked you to line up the relationship between the learning outcomes and the learner profile and ATLs. Not surprisingly, you found the link quite strong because originally the learner outcomes were derived from the learner profile. And a lot of you made those links very clearly. In looking at the sort of evidence that's involved from CAS activities, I guess one thing is to be very broad in what you'll accept. In the past, I used letters and feedback, oral feedback, notes on managed back as examples of evidence from the students, and of course photos and videos. It was interesting looking at the range of CAS learning experiences that you had, and also particularly for me, looking at the discussion there was really about what is CAS. And if we start with the three definitions of CA and S, I think that helps us a lot. I guess the most contentious one, the one that causes the most issues, is about creativity. Creativity is more than just about thinking creatively. It means to produce something as a result of that. So whether it's a video, whether it's a piece of artwork, whether it's a play or a performance, that's what's really expected. Activity, again, we're looking at seeing something which is leading to a healthy lifestyle and fitness. One of the things which could fit into this, if the kids have got some goals for it, is your school's PE program, because that won't actually form part of the IB diploma. And the third area of service, I guess the really key thing here is that there's a real need for the service, and that has been well researched. Now, in doing the quiz, and you'll notice that I haven't commented or graded on your results, and that's been deliberately so, is that it was made to really make you think about what's CAS and what's not CAS. And it was pleasing to see that actually happen, because there was quite a bit of debate among you about some of the things, and some of you said things like, wow, I need to be a bit more liberal in how I interpret things. But I think once we get past the definitions, a couple of key other things. You've got to know a little bit about the student. What for one student might not be a challenge or interesting, for another it might be incredibly challenging. On the weekend, I led a face-to-face workshop, and we had a CAS coordinator there from Saudi Arabia. Now, for some of the Saudi girls, actually just walking, going for a walk daily is a real challenge for them. And so you need to think about the student and also the context in which activities are trying to be run. In some places, it's very difficult for students to carry out activities. Either they're restricted by their culture or by legal requirements. And a couple of the contentious points that came up, one was certainly about political activism. And here we need to think very carefully about what the consequences are for the students if they're engaged in political activism. It may be they just wish to advocate for something, like with Amnesty International. However, if it takes a much more active role in the demonstration, we need to be very clear that the student is not going to be putting themselves or even their family perhaps at risk. Clearly, that's a situation where you need to think very much about the context of the potential activism or not. And I've put an example of a couple of things which were allowed in Switzerland, which might not be allowed everywhere else. As I said, we need to think carefully about the context. Another thing which comes up quite often is about religious involvement. And I think it's important to remember here that the IB is a humanist organisation and doesn't actively promote any one religion. So as far as CAS is concerned, one of the things that we need to be careful about is service for church or religious groups. Quite clearly, if the individual is proselytising or preaching or promoting the religion, then that is not considered to be CAS. So you need to be aware of that. So that's one of the challenges you face as a CAS coordinator, because at the end of the day, you have to make the decision about whether it's CAS or not. And you need to be very clear in your own mind what the definitions mean of CANS and also the rules and regulations of the IB. One simple one is that you can't do something for CAS, which would be a possible assessment tool for another subject like the extended essay, for example. Okay, moving on to the third week, which starts on Wednesday. In the third week, you're also going to be put in groups, and I'm going to post that in the announcement section. And in addition to that, you're going to look at some different reflections. Now, reflections are a really important part of experiential learning, which is what CAS is all about. And it is something which you need to develop with your students. And you need to get them beyond the stage where they confuse the product, which might be written or a blog, with the process of reflection. Then, later in the week, I'm going to ask you to look at what might be a CAS project, or even tell us some of the CAS projects that your students have been involved with. So, I'm looking forward very much to the continuation of the program and your posts. You're doing a great job. I'm enjoying some of the discussions and debates that are going on within the posts, and I'm looking forward to your contributions for this week. Bye for now.